TTRPG news. Oh, and we're back, but we need to go to TTRPG news. But
Welcome.
the date is correct. Today is Monday, March 2nd.
May
May
2nd.
They both begin with M's.
I know, we're getting closer. Okay, so we have a couple of fun things to talk about this week. First off, we have D20 Modern, a TTRPG game setting for D&D 5e. It's set in modern times. They have licensed some of the favorite modern day action heroes, including characters from Highlander, John Carpenter's Escape from New York, Roland Emmerich's Universal Soldier, Rambo First Blood Part 2, and Rambo 3, Paul Verhoeven's Total Recall, The Crow, Guillermo del Toro's Pacific Rim, and Kong Skull Island. So what they have done, instead of having PCs that are based off of specific characters, they have the license to actually build those characters, name and all, with all of their abilities that they show and showcase in the different movies. So instead of playing a character that is inspired by a specific action hero, you can actually play that specific action hero in the game.
Must have homebrewed a lot for that.
Yeah, they did. At first, when they first came out in 2001, they kind of created generic classes for all of these individuals and then let you kind of just build who you wanted. But now they have actual licensure to use the specific characters.
I wonder how much that cost them.
Probably a lot of money.
Yeah. I do wonder. So they got Rambo First Blood and then Rambo First Blood Part 2 and Rambo 3. So, is that 3 different builds?
Well, it's not necessarily Rambo every time. It might be Rambo for one and then other characters from the movies.
Who else is there in there? There's Rambo and a bunch of Russians.
I don't know.
I don't think you've seen those movies all.
I've seen the first one, and the first one was phenomenal.
The rest of them?
So good.
Not nearly so good. Just throw that out there. They're more your classic 80s action films.
Well, and Rambo, the first one, First Blood, was it was a drama. It was like an action drama. It was so good. It was like I feel like one of the few times I've actually seen Sylvester Stallone really act, and he can really act, or at least he could. So it's like, anyway, moving on.
Also, for all you terrain lovers, Archon has revealed new terrain for Pathfinder's Abomination Vaults, which, if you didn't know, was recently announced to be released in 5th edition compatible. Mm-hmm. This will be a whole line of terrain sets specifically built for the Abomination Vaults adventure path coming out this year. No news on official commercial release for this product yet.
But they did release the pictures, and it's beautiful. They are going to be creating terrain for every setting through the Abomination Vault adventure path campaign module, whatever you want to call it.
Let me show this real quick.
Okay.
Look at that.
Look how pretty that is, you guys. So they're half-size walls so that you don't have to try and deal with leaning over and stuff like that. But they do represent full-size walls. They have all of the little pieces that you can use as well. You can buy them as full sets. But like I said, or like said earlier, we don't have a release date.
Not yet.
For it, which is unfortunate. Anyway.
All right. You're up.
Okay, so a new Call of Cthulhu game is on its way. Well, not Call of Cthulhu, but Cthulhu game. Kahor Cthulhu is a brand new game set in the larger IP of Against the Gods themselves, which includes the Actorg, Cthulhu. So from the publishers, they say the first major release for the Kahor's Cthulhu role-playing game will drop players into the Roman frontier town of Larium, the archetypal walled fort that sits on the border between civilization and the mysterious foreboding lands. Ooh. Smoky taverns filled with dangerous vagabonds swirl with gossip and whispers of terrifying creatures, strange runes and haunted forests and 2nd century northern Europe. Barbaric Germanic tribesmen prowl the thick woodland, but are they the only thing the Romans should be worried about? And how do these events relate to ancient Atlantis and the colossal war that would tear Europe apart 2 millennia in the future? Dun dun dun. No official date of release, but they have said, the publishers have said, that it will be released later this year.
My attention is caught.
This sounds really fun. Like, this sounds kind of cool. They've got the little blurb about it was like they've got the Roman centurions and gladiators and all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of taking place during the fall of the Roman Empire.
All right.
Very cool.
Well, in other news, Dungeons & Dragons the movie has released the official title of the up-and-coming adaptation, which we are all both excited and afraid
Terrified of.
Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves, which has a release date of 2023, has been confirmed that it will be bringing in the iconic cities of Baldur's Gate and Neverwinter. Also confirmed is the world setting, which will be in the Sword Coast of the Forgotten Realms, which is where Baldur's Gate and Neverwinter occur. So, I mean, that's a good direction right there. They're not going to try and create some different world. I mean, it's like there's so much lore. Why waste your time coming up with something different? New? It's like, put all your attention just on story and characters. And just let the
setting be the setting. Allow the setting to be the setting, and then create the story within that setting. It looks like that they're trying to stay at least sort of true to the book or the games. It's been really concerning for me, the idea that they've been so hush hush about it, because the only times people are this hush hush about games being adapted
is when it sucks,
or books being adapted is if it's horrible or if it's incredible,
or if they have to do like 50 billion reshoots,
which is not necessarily a bad thing, because sometimes reshoots have to be done because of a lot of different reasons. But if it's because of
like changing
original
directors.
Testing that was just a sad chain of events. But if it's like, if they do the initial viewing for that first focus group, and there's a lot of critiques about one specific thing, the directors a lot of times will go back and rework that scene or that character. It's very common. So if you do hear of things having to be reshot, it's not because the movie's horrible. It's because it's bloody freaking common.
I also imagine if they're going to do this movie right, the CGI post-production is going to be
insane,
intense, and a lot. Because I understand they're done with filming, from what I understand, but post-production on this is probably going to be really intense,
to say the least. Some names associated with this project, if you didn't already know, are Michelle Rodriguez, Chris Pine, Benedict Cumberbatch, and a couple of other names that you would recognize in the more geeky side of Hollywood. But it has been kind of a longer running joke every time they would announce a new actor that was being cast as a part of the director or a part of the movie itself, was like, are they just going to cast all the hot people in Hollywood because it's a bad movie or what?
What they need to do, the villain needs to be like some monster voiced by Matt Mercer.
If they were smart just to appease the D&D community, throw Matt Mercer somewhere as a cameo, like as like a soldier that they interact with for 2 seconds.
Throw them all in. Like, there's gonna be, we're in the age where if this is high enough special effects, there's gonna be CGI characters. There's going to be CGI characters. Bring in the Critical Role cast. Ask them to voice some,
one or two of them in.
Voice this goblin. Voice this, how do they say it? Gnoll? Is that how they say it?
A gnoll.
Gnoll.
Yeah, it's a gnoll.
You voice something like that. Just make all of the D&D fans happy.
The villain is voiced by both of you. Yes. Let's do that.
We're going to do two-headed bad guy, which act like a married couple. And just argue over things.
Yes, that's it. That's it right there.
All right.
Cool. So that is...
Last thing. One thing that somehow made it past us. Paizo has released the new Pathfinder 2nd Edition Book of the Dead. Have you ever wanted to play as an undead? as your character? Well, in this you can. There is a lich class. There are
you can play the ghost of a lich orc squirrel something. Like some people are building the most ridiculous characters because of this book, but I'm so excited. I'm really sad that we don't have it because I really want it. But
in Pathfinder, there's a whole city actually that is undead.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not like the Lich King has risen up his hordes and they're there. No, it is a city with government and everything with living semi undead.
If I had continued moving, like with my main storyline, we were eventually going to go to that city in Pathfinder.
What's it called again? It begins with G.
I don't remember. This was like a year ago.
But it's just really interesting, really cool stuff. Honestly, I feel like Paizo knocks it out of the park with their world lore and their character options.
Absolutely incredible.
So if you've ever been interested, go check it out. You can find it at paizo.com and just search for Book of the Dead. They'll be advertising it everywhere.
Yep. And for community announcements, we don't actually have any this week, not because they weren't submitted, but because of things like children being sick and whatnot over this last week. I wasn't able to really get a list together that I was happy with. So we will have community announcements next week. Yay.
And that's all for TTRPG News today, Monday, May 2nd, 2022.